Hello and welcome to the 14th episode of Real Talk with a Unicorn. My name is Tatiana and I'm a recruiter in supply chain and logistics. As you know, I invite guests who went through interesting paths in their lives, who love what they do and who are passionate about their careers. I'm very excited to introduce DEVANT team today. DEVANT is a foundation that helps international students. So if you are an international student, I highly recommend staying with us until the end of this episode. And if you are someone or a professional who is looking for motivation, who is looking to meet exceptional people, stay with us as well. I'm happy to introduce Rhodes Kinkel, the founder of DEVANT, and I understand like the mission that DEVANT is following is very noble. So I want to ask Rod, first of all, what motivated you to start DEVANT and what challenges you may be going through? And the biggest question is, what is your why and what gaps you are trying to address in the professional world?
Well, greetings. Thank you, Tatiana. It's really nice to meet you. And greetings to all you listeners out there. So the first thing I want to do, though, is just point out that I am a founder, but one of several founders of DEVANT. And people can look on the website if they want to meet the others. But to your question about why we got started with DEVANT, I can break it down into three really simple but important reasons, and they all kind of go together. But the first reason is, as a Canadian, I think Canada is one of the best places in the world. And Canada needs immigrants. We're hoping to bring them up to 1.2 million in the next few years alone. And as wonderful as this country is, we have an aging population, and we need young, talented people from all over the world. And we are a multicultural kind of society, and we embrace that. And so that's the first reason. Canada needs international students and new immigrants and new talent. To be the best country it can be. The second reason is higher education. I spent my entire career working in higher education, 30 years, colleges and universities. And I understand that the growth in the international student population in Canada has been so rapid that really schools have struggled to keep up with the opportunity. And they're doing a great job, but we feel we can help. We feel that our resources can help students and schools by providing really more expertise, content, resources, which is what we do at DEVANT, and I'm sure some of the others are going to talk about those. So the second reason is the schools can use the help, and the third reason is really the individuals, the individual international student, and that's on the human level, and that's the most important level. International students, when they come here, we know this, they face many challenges. They're often more isolated than domestic students. They may or may not understand the language, the first languages as well. They may struggle with that. And they may also just not understand employment opportunities in this country. And we believe we can kind of bring them up to speed fast so that they are kind of starting on more of a level playing field if they choose to stay here. And it's our mission to help international students to stay, work, and succeed. In fact, so much so that we made it our tagline.
That's excellent, Rod. It's very noble, and I really like to hear the word mission because I'm sure that's what helps you motivate and keep your team engaged. I'm very excited to introduce your team members. I see how happy they are, and I would like to invite Palak Pandya, Kate Johnson, and Tabitha David to the conversation. And if we can just do sort of a round table where you can introduce yourself, tell me your story. What is your what drives you? What makes your life meaningful working with DEVANT? Because what I heard from Rod is that the human part is extremely important. It makes your work meaningful, especially, I guess, when you see the results of it. So please, Palak, let's start with you.
Hi, thank you for inviting me, Tatiana. And so I am an international student, and I have just started working with DEVANT, like it's my third month. I'm also doing my, I'm a student, so I'm doing my studies in supply chain management. And I think the greater part of me being in DEVANT would be working with the team, like we are a family. So I have never worked in a, like I have worked before, but it was not my professional job in Canada. So working with Devant has been fruitful, I would say. Like I am satisfied with what I am doing with them, helping international students, because I am one of them. Why would someone listen to me? Why would someone choose me from the Lord? So Rod is the person who gave me this chance, and I'm grateful working with Devant. I would really suggest everyone, if even if they are looking for a job, and the services are great. So yeah, that's my story.
And well, I really like that you said a family feeling, because that's what international students are missing. They often lack the support from their family, from people who really and truly care for them, not just trying to make money out of them, but basically help them because they know that these people need help. So that family feeling, I think, is something that also attracts students. Because I've been a student in my home country, even though the city where I was studying was 2,000 kilometers away from my hometown. So I know how often you miss that support and a go-to team. I'm very happy to hear that that's part of what Divant indirectly offers. Kate, let's move to Kate Johnson. So Kate, please tell us about your journey. I've been on your profile. I see how versatile your activities are. So I'm sure that you also bring spark to the team. So what drives you, and what value you see in Divant bringing to students?
Yeah, it's so great to be here. Thank you for having me. So I'm Kate. I am originally from England. I moved to Canada myself in 2017. So just a few years I've been here. But since coming here, I realized that there are a lot of challenges for everyone that comes here, not just international students, everybody that comes and tries to start a new life abroad. And so I started, putting on little networking events in Toronto, and then I hosted a trade show in Toronto. Now I'm hosting the New to Canada podcast, where I kind of share stories and get people's experiences of moving here. So yeah, going back to your point, it really is that community feel, and that's what really drove me to Divant. They reached out to me, and I'm so happy to help them. I'm the events and business development manager, so I'm helping put on all the events and getting all these amazing partnerships involved, because the community that they've built, these students come in, and that's what I missed myself. I wasn't even a student, but I would have loved somewhere to come and get help with my resume and be able to talk to people that are going through the same thing as me, and to feel heard and listened to. So it's just a fantastic organization, and it's really a dream to be able to give back to people that are going through the struggles that I went through. So yeah, it's great to be here.
That's amazing when your experience is relatable, because people, they trust others more when they see them made it through exactly the same struggle that they're going through. That's amazing. So Tabitha, welcome. Please share with us your story. I see how you're smiling, listening to your friends. So I'm very excited to hear about your journey and what you enjoy the most working with Divant.
Of course. Thanks again, Tatiana, for having all of us come on board. It's always exciting within our team to also hear each other's stories, because it's a good reminder why we're here, what we're doing. And so I'm happy to be here with the rest of the team. Primarily, I'm a communications and marketing professional, and that is what I do for Divant with their marketing and comms efforts. I've kind of been in and around the education space throughout my career. I was a teacher in China. I did some course development for colleges in Ontario. I did marketing for some other colleges. And so I'm always kind of trying to blend those two worlds together, education and communication. And so when the Divant opportunity presented itself, I was so happy to jump on board. Really, the things that make me excited about working here is meeting people like Pollock and other international students. As I develop content or writing or other material, it's so exciting to learn about their journeys. I also help facilitate some of our events, which is always cool to see familiar faces, people recognizing each other, people recognizing our facilitators. So that's always a big win for me as well. So yeah, I guess it's just all about building that community, and seeing that grow has been really exciting to be part of the team.
That's awesome. And Rhodes, what I'm hearing from your teammates is that you give them freedom to create, you trust them to do their job, and that's what keeps them engaged, because that's the foundation of the culture. Everybody's different and we get excited by doing different things. Right now in the remote work, how, my question is to you, how do you do the brainstorming? How do you come up with ideas? And how do you know what services? Because ultimately, if I talk to an international student, the first question is, Tatiana, do you have a job for me? But I understand that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many other things that need to be addressed before that job even gets to you. So how do you know what services to provide? And I understand you have a variety of free services. So I would like to, maybe if you can share those ideas. And of course, Kate, Palak, and Tabitha, you can join Rod in telling me about your story, your services.
Sure. Thank you again. I mean, I think that we have a vision, an endpoint that we want to get to. We really want to create a community of international students, so that in the end they are all more successful, and we can sort of leverage the creativity, the energy of the whole. So to do that, we had to find a way to be able to communicate with many people. And when we started out just 2 years ago, so we consider ourselves a startup, especially because we lost a year to, we didn't lose, but I'll explain. We started out doing workshops with colleges and universities where we bring together 50, 60, 100 international students, and we help them with career development thinking, about, okay, let's do some career planning very briefly. Let's look at what you need to do in terms of resume and so on. And when I say we, I mean, we have a team of international students who are all now, former international students who are all now successfully working in Canada, and very often in recruiting settings as recruiters. Also, we have certified career coaches. So we'd be running these workshops, and they were fantastic because they were in person, and it was just rewarding. I can't even begin to share how rewarding it is to see 30 or 40 young people talking, sharing, and we had some very specific workshop materials that we would go through. So in other words, and they were extensive, like they'd be a day and a half. So a Friday afternoon and a Saturday, and a lot could be accomplished. However, COVID hit 1 year ago, I think yesterday, whatever, that the World Health Organization announced.
I'm just saying, we're celebrating sort of an anniversary today.
Yes, it's sort of a sad anniversary, isn't it, right? So when that hit, we said, okay, we can't get people together. What are we going to do? And so we've spent the last year developing what we refer to as a platform. It sounds kind of, I don't know, mechanical, but it's not. It's our attempt to bring the real experience of workshops and people together to leverage, the technology that we have. The one we're speaking on today, we use Zoom to host live webinars. I'll let my team describe some of those in more detail, but it's actually been a tremendous opportunity and an advantage because we can scale this up to reach more people now. And our mission of creating a community of international students isn't, just a community in Toronto. It isn't just a community in Vancouver or on the East Coast. It's a community across Canada. And only through virtual technology could we really manage that. So we're bringing expert people, expert panels on different careers, and say careers in supply chain management, which you would understand, very, very well. And I believe you've helped us understand that opportunity better. So we can bring all those things through virtual means. We have a whole plethora of sort of resources that we can bring. And so we've leveraged the notion of what we do to bring it to more students, and we're working with schools. And I call it a journey. And you were asking about how we know what things to do. Well, it's because it's a journey, and because we're talking to the students, we just can't plan to keep finding ways to add more value.
So you listen to their needs and you try to address it. So that's amazing. And Kate, what platforms do you use to advertise DEVANT? And because you're in business development, so how do students know about upcoming webinars? Do you have an account on social network? How do you manage that PR section of DEVANT?
Yeah, I would say the best thing, it's definitely Tabitha's realm with the newsletter. We have an amazing newsletter. It's called The Insider. I'll let her talk more about that. But to sign up to that would really be the best thing to do, because you get not only all of our upcoming events and the links to join and register, but you get all of the industry insights that we have, and all the different job information that we have access to. So it's just chock of information. So yeah, I'll pass it to Tabitha.
Okay, that's
Yeah, I would say primarily sign up to our DEVANT Insider newsletter. It's probably the most timely way to keep on top of all our events that are coming up. Like Kate mentioned, there's additional content on there with resources from industry professionals. We do interviews all the time. Pollock was featured in one of them, so you'll see international student perspectives in there as well. And so it's a great place to get a full understanding of what's going on in the international student world. And it's a quick snapshot. Like Rod mentioned, we're moving a ton of our in-person events to online. So that's been another great opportunity as well. Most of them are in the evening. Bring your dinner and have a little chat with us. It's a great way to get to know people in the industry and other peers. And check our website. That's probably a great place to go as well.
Pollock, maybe this question is for you. Can you give me an example of the name of the webinar, for example? I want our audience to understand better what type of concerns can you help them with. Maybe because I've been a student myself, and you study something, and then at the point you realize, do I even want to do this in my life? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Because as a recruiter, I work with professionals at the very last stage of their job search. So it's eventually interviewing and presenting them to the client. And often communicating the feedback back to the candidate may be challenging, especially if it comes to soft skills. So do you work on their self-awareness, strength identification, that type of service? Maybe I was like a long question, but I would like to hear about that as well.
Yeah, so I started working with Divant. Like, I was introduced to Divant through my school, like from Georgian College. And at that time I was looking for a co-op. So I was working with Denny I had a one-on-one session with him, and I got my co-op within a month. Then I landed up with the internship with Divant. So that's just me. That's like, I have many more examples. I have one of my friend who did a career coaching session with the career coaches, and she was so depressed. She was looking for a job for 1 year, I think, and she was in project management, and she was talking with the career coaches, and oh my God, I could see the difference within a month. Like she had took 4 sessions with them, and she was so positive. She was like, oh, I can do this. I know how to do it now because I know how to work on my resume. I have connections now because they are helping us to meet and network with other people from the industry. So I think that was relief for me, because I introduced her to Divant, and when she told me, like, I could see a change. She's a very good friend of mine, so I know that they are doing something right, that is helping us in a good way. Like, I landed with, I was also looking for co-op, so I know, like, where I needed to work and things like that. So yeah, I think that's from me.
Yeah. The good thing about it is that Divant, we really understand that everyone's position is always going to be different in your journey. So there's 3 kind of stages that we've split the job search process into. So you have planning, preparation, and action. And that's really what we center all of our services around. And it's not a destination, like a map that you have to follow. It's, wherever you are on that journey, wherever you are in that map, we can kind of pick you up and help you wherever you are on there. So for planning, for example, that's your whole industry exploration, employer research, immigration support. So all of that planning we help you with. The preparation is then, your personal branding, your application package. So, your resume and cover letter, elevator pitch, preparing for an interview, so all of that prep work. And then the action is creating the opportunity to network. So we're going to be introducing you to employers. We have a Get Hired at Home Career Development Expo that we host 3 times a year. It's a huge virtual interactive expo. We launched our first one just in January this year, and it was amazing. We had 4,000 registrations. We had employers and companies there to help and to educate. And it was just a fantastic virtual event. So going back to Rod's point, we've really pivoted to the digital platform, but then you just have those connections still and the education that you need. So yeah, planning, prep, and action is really the events that we offer and the support. So.
Wow, that's amazing. And Tabitha, from your perspective, maybe can you tell me the most interesting webinar you had, like something that was so new to you, you were surprised about the information you learned, and maybe some webinars that are coming up that you guys are very excited about. So what is, and by the way, I understand that you provide free services, and we can tap into that, how affordable you are, but let's just start with the content of webinars and what type of topics you cover.
Yep. Yeah, to begin, just all of our online events and webinars are free right now. So you can register at the click of a button and there's no payment involved. So that's a great place to start, even if you're figuring out, hey, I just want to meet some people or let me talk to industry professionals. That's a great place to begin your journey because those are free. We also offer great career assessment opportunities online, which is, again, you get to meet a career coach, which often doesn't happen. And so you can ask personal questions. Hey, I'm at this particular spot. I find those actually really interesting to facilitate and to sit in on because even for me, as I learn about international student journeys, it's always great to hear from that particular person. And like Rod mentioned earlier, it really informs our services to hear from international students what their needs are and what their challenges are. So I found the career assessment sessions really great. We also have a LinkedIn event coming up later this month, which is originally a premium workshop, but we're offering it for free this month. So it's a great opportunity to learn about the importance of LinkedIn, how to optimize it, and use it for your advantage. We also have, I'm just going to mention one quick last event coming up this month, which is a tax prep event. And we're really excited to partner with CRA, who's putting together an event. It took me forever to learn about taxes and how to do them. So I can only imagine how difficult that is for a brand new student to Canada. So that's going to be a really great informational session followed by an open forum for a Q&A. Again, it's free to attend. And so we're really excited to partner with CRA to put that together for our students. Just a few things coming up.
That's very exciting to be to see. I didn't even know there are challenges that international students are going through besides the job search. Mm-hmm. And knowing that Divant is a startup company, it's relatively young, what you guys are doing, and then the amount of what you have already accomplished, those events with thousands of people showing up, it must be overwhelming for you as the founder, as the owner, to expand your team, to keep your team engaged. What are you looking for in employees for yourself? Like, what are the key things that they need to have, and what are the things you can train them?
Good question. Yeah, and a big one. But I think I can boil it down again to there's a, obviously there's a passion. There's a passion required. You can hear it from everyone here on the panel today, and I think that's what we're looking for first and foremost. And then it's the soft skills. Interestingly, right? Like that's what we teach in our workshops. That's what we spend a lot of time on with international students are the soft skills. And it's not because they lack soft skills. They lack the translation of those soft skills. They lack sometimes the ability to translate it into a language that a Canadian employer is necessarily going to understand. So it's just interesting. I mean, the reason it's so important is the same reason it's so important to us at Divant. The teamwork is everything, right? That we are aspiring to do. So I've always been a big believer no one can get it right all the time, and that you really need to be surrounded by people who will check your thinking at every step of the way. Also, in this case, they're all a lot closer to the demographic that we're serving than I am, as the gray hair will attest. So I love being surrounded by people like that are on this panel today with they're much closer to the international student, to the student experience, but yet they're also, working with us on the solutions. So they can kind of bring both perspectives. They're experienced working here in Canada, or they're en route to be getting experience like Palak. They can bring sort of that international student perspective, and they can also help us develop the solutions. And it really is about developing those solutions, which we can't, like, no one can do everything. We can't, for example, guarantee everyone a job. We're not an employment agency. What we say to international students is, look, we will help you put your best foot forward. We guarantee you that. If you spend a little time, if you invest in some of these workshops, if you jump on the webinars, if you go to, like, we have free expert panels. I'm a big fan of the expert panel session. So we bring in an expert panel in careers in financial, an expert panel in careers in, like I mentioned, supply chain or IT. But we're bringing in recruiters from those sectors to talk about it. And those, again, are free for DEVANT insiders. So that's, my goal is just to keep building a team to expand our reach and our effectiveness. And for that, we need their input constantly.
That's great. And also, Rod, I see how motivated you are and how genuine your mission is. However, international students in the foreign country are often subject to different scams, manipulation, and frauds. And at some point, they may be even naive to trust people. They think if someone lives in Canada, I can trust this person. Like, coming from the other parts of the world. Is there anything you can warn them about? I'm not sure how polite this question is, but still, there must be something that you absolutely want them to prevent from doing.
We do, and I'm going to turn it over to anyone else on the floor that wants to. I'll just maybe set it up by saying we absolutely do, and it's part of our mission to be, like I said, creating a sense of community, and take a responsibility for that. So that includes when we know of something that's not, that's not above boards, and or just giving our best advice about how to get from here to there most efficiently. That's a huge part of our mission. So we have, and I'll let Tabitha speak to it, but we have the DEVANT Insider, which is twice monthly, and we even have, because sometimes something will happen in between, we've created a kind of a news flash communication when we think there's something really important that international students should know about. But Tabitha, maybe you can expand on that.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to our mission to stay honest and continue to communicate with our audience. We don't want to skim over these tough or difficult conversations because it's really important to address those things. And I think a lesson that we've been learning time and time again with this community is how important word of mouth is. And so when it comes to these scams or things that are maybe a little bit uncertain, it's so important to have that community that can say, hey, don't do this, or hey, this happened to me, check it out, do some more research. And I think that just comes back to our goal of creating this tight-knit, honest and open conversation through all our communication efforts, our events, our newsletter, our interviews, whatever we do. We have to be clear about that.
So that support, family support, people who they genuinely can trust, that's very important. And also looking at the international students as a potential workforce for Canadian business world, why do you think they are facing issues in the market? And partially I'm asking this question that I do get messages from students and they seem to be very urgent, like, I'm graduating next month, I need a job. Why do you think people postpone it to the very last moment? Because everything seems to be very urgent. And we all know that networking takes time. Building your personal brand takes time. And often when the need arises, they don't have time. Everything is urgent. So do you have, like, you being students yourself, why is it happening? And maybe that's something you want to tell students right now. Yeah, go ahead.
I think most of the time it's mainly because actually, when I am looking for a job, I would prepare earlier because I have that that sense of responsibility that I need a job before the completion of my studies. But usually people, I have seen my friends, so I'm just going to take their example. Like they would think, because they have to pay, I have a good background, like my family had paid for my tuition, so I didn't had to suffer through that pain that I would have to pay. But they have a responsibility to pay for their own tuition, so they are busy with their part-time jobs and stuff like that. So I think they wouldn't get time to realize that, oh, they are almost graduating and now they have to look for a job before, like they have to prepare themselves, they need to have a plan. So I think that's the main reason, like they have been overburdened with so many responsibilities. So I think that would be my main and some of them are lazy, I would say. Can I say that? They
Well,
know that there is a co-op coming on and they wouldn't find it, so I don't know.
or they just don't realize that it's going to be like when I came to Canada, I thought finding a job was just a matter of getting a laptop at Best Buy. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can totally relate to that. And also being a student, we all have different attitudes. Some students, they want to get all A's. Others are okay with the more average marks and they allocate some time to work. So Kate, I saw you wanted to share something.
Well, yeah, I was literally just about to say what you just said. It's that perception that getting good grades is going to equal a great employment opportunity and a career, and that's not necessarily the truth. Unfortunately, there's a lot more, like what we were saying, the prepare and the planning that's involved, and just focusing on grades is, unfortunately, in today's world, not going to cut it. There's a lot more to do to be successful, but it's totally doable, and we obviously offer the support for that. But yeah, I would probably say that's the biggest misconception about it, really.
Yeah. And that's true. And also, just speaking of my example, also is that when parents, especially when they pay money for your tuition, you feel like by getting excellent grades, you are showing response to them, and often parents are the one who wants you to report back on your grades.
Yes. And networking is so important in Canada, probably the most. So I've lived and worked in 5 different countries, but in Canada, it's the most important that I've ever found it to be. Networking is just so key for everything. And without it, you have great grades and you have even a LinkedIn profile, but there's so much work to do to make those connections, because there are just so many jobs that are completely hidden. And I'm sure Rod can speak on this, but the majority of jobs are completely hidden, and it's who you know, and it's, who knows someone. So it's really the networking that's the big action piece that a lot of people think it's going to go quickly, and it's a lot more time investment than they think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can add to that for sure. It's exactly right. Building on both Palak and Kate's points, we set out to solve for that problem, though. We actually set out to solve for the problem that you mentioned, Tatiana, which is it's for a lot of reasons, and everybody's different, but they all face a lot of the pressures that Palak mentioned. So for a lot of reasons, people don't get started on the career development early on. They do leave it to the last, and we set out to solve for that problem. So all of our platform is really designed so that students can kind of, as Tabitha mentioned, at dinner hour, you can sit and listen 45 minutes to a recruiter from financial services. And you may not even be interested in financial services, but you might be after 45 minutes, you might learn, and then you can go to the next one the next month. And anyway, it's our idea for solving the problem is to get it in on people's radar earlier in their higher education experience in this country. And so we actually I'll give you a specific example. We're actually partnering with a local college right now to develop a platform, which is sort of a platform for the college and DEVANT put together so that international students, and it's strictly for international students, but they can kind of work through a series of short 45-minute sessions. We call them, we have sort of 3 that we have called, what is it, Tabitha? Not networking, but
the Kickstart ones?
Kickstart, sorry, yeah, just escaped flew out of my brain as I was about to say it. The Kickstart series is 1, 2, 3, and we walk through those 3 stages we mentioned. well, how do you kickstart planning? How do you kickstart the sort of the preparation stage and the action stage? And so that was, and there's a lot more to it than that. They can access everything from the platform, but they can access these mini workshops that just get them thinking about it. And that's the best way that we know of, is to get students thinking earlier. Doesn't mean they have to, not study or anything like that. But Kate's right. Canada's very different in some regards. You might come from some Asian countries, for example, where grades is the major focus. And it's not that it's not important here, but it's not going to get you the job, and neither is the credential, because you're up against everyone else with good grades and a good credential. They really don't want to know how you're going to help them, offer value, whether they work in a nonprofit or government or for-profit companies. They really want to know how you're going to help them problem solve and solve their immediate problems, how you're going to bring value. So we focus our workshops on that kind of thinking and language.
That's very important. The networking, I will repeat it again, it's a very slow process. Like any relationship, it has to be developed gradually, and you may not benefit from your network finding your first job in Canada, but it can be quite beneficial for your second or third job. And also I meet with immigrants, and I often tell them, do not ask for a job by sending the first message on LinkedIn. So some of them send me the message, I would like to connect with you. And then they send the second message, I'm looking for a job. So there are different networking mistakes. And wrapping up our conversation, I wonder if maybe you can share some mistakes that international students, immigrants, or any other professionals should avoid, especially when we are all online, and any warnings? Palak, you can.
Yeah, so I think if I'm looking for a job, I would always like to plan. Like people usually don't do that because we have a different culture. So we have this thinking that, oh, we are going to do it with time. When my studies will be finished, I would get a job. But they don't know the reality before, because it's a different country. So things worked in different way. So I would just say that plan ahead, work more like where you need to work, where you have to identify your what I would say, where your weaknesses. So work on their weaknesses, and then you will eventually land up with a thing, with the job, and So I think, yeah.
I personally try to encourage and counsel all people, whether international or not, but just because I'm at that stage, right, where I'm more of a mentor than anything else in my own career. I personally try to tell people to kind of flip it on its head and think not just about, well, what do I need, where are the jobs and what do I need to do, to say to get that job? How do I change my resume to get that job? I mean, all that's important, don't get me wrong, but if you flip it on its head and start from the perspective of which kind of companies do I actually want to work for? Which kind of companies would actually be a good fit for me? And to do that, I need, first of all, to understand my skills and my strengths. And then secondly, I need to do research on the companies, because you mentioned it, Tatiana, about first job, second job, third job. I mean, nobody's going to work in one place. I say nobody, but a lot of people are not going to work in one place, and their careers are going to have 4 or 5 and maybe even change careers. And that's wonderful, and it's great. And it comes back to this soft skills. But if you start thinking about the sector and doing the research, then you can sort of find the companies that, first of all, have a really high number of people of diverse backgrounds working there. The company whose goals you embrace, the companies whose culture looks interesting to you, and you can learn about all this by going on LinkedIn and by looking at company profiles and by listening to company blogs and that sort of thing. So I say, tell them, start your research while you're still in first or second year, thinking about the kinds of organizations that you actually want to work for, rather than just, okay, I'm ready now, who's got a job for me? That's not a very effective approach, and you'll spend a lot of time and perhaps not be as successful because you start out maybe in a place that's a really poor match for you.
Yes, Kate, thank you, Rod, for that input. That was very valuable.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I always tell people is that your resume and anywhere that you're trying to sell yourself and your skills, it's not just a list of responsibilities. It's not just a list of the things that you did or the things that you've done. It's going back to those soft skills. You have to be able to show when you were a leader, when were you part of an effective team, actually show that those results that you achieved for whether it's a volunteering or, in some club in your university or your college, anything that you can really display the soft skills that they're looking for, problem solving, adaptability, that in itself is a huge win for you. You've already moved to a new country. You're so resilient and so adaptable. So believing in your strengths and being able to communicate those is a lot more important, in my opinion, than just writing, oh, I was responsible for this and that. So
yes, that's true. And leadership, of course, it doesn't have to be big to be celebrated or mentioned. Even handling a pressure and stress of managing the number of exams within a limited period of time and organizing your group together, the group of students, those are as difficult as managing a team in the work setting. So, and Tabitha, what is your advice on networking and job search?
I will speak to actually a piece of advice that I heard at one of our events from one of our expert panels, and it's kind of been on my mind since then. And I think it was an IT person who talked about this, but across the board helpful, is to really think about your networking from the perspective of the employer or the recruiter. What kind of problems are you solving for them? Are you making their organization more efficient? Are you saving them money? Are you saving them time? How are your skills really impacting their employment or their organization? And I thought that was a really interesting perspective to kind of switch the gear there, as opposed to, I want this, I want a job, I want to learn about the industry. What are they expecting from you? Because networking really is a two-way street, and you have to be able to provide some value to the other person as well. And so I thought that was a really great piece of advice from one of our experts.
That's actually a very valuable piece of advice, because it also changes the tone of the conversation. It changes the words that you use if that's your attitude. So Rod, Kate, Halak, Tabitha, thank you so much for your time today. And it just proved that networking takes time. Job search is more than just finding a job. You need support system. You need people who can encourage and motivate you, because the job search process is exhausting, draining, and often demotivating if you're not doing it right, or if you don't have a strategy. Doing actions without a plan, you may end up missing opportunities and wasting time. So of course, doing your research, when you know what you want and what industries you want to work for, when you know exactly how you can help companies make more money, when you know what is your value, you sound differently, and your success is just a matter of time. So Divant team, thank you so much. And to our audience, please visit Divant's website, connect with the panelists today. All links and names will be tagged in my LinkedIn post and on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for your time. And I wish
Thank you, Tatiana.
Thank you for having us.